Welcome if you're just joining us. It's 0400 GMT. We begin with that breaking news. This bulletin, Israeli forces say they've launched preemptive strikes on Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon after accusing the armed group of preparing to launch an extensive attack. A 48-hour state of emergency has been imposed across Israel. Well, these are images of the early morning Israeli airstrikes in southern Lebanon. The armed group Hezbollah says it began the attack on Israel with a large number of drones in response to its top military commander, Fuad Shukr's assassination in Beirut last month. Well, these are pictures from along the Lebanon-Israel border where a barrage of rockets can be seen being intercepted from northern Israel by the Iron Dome defense system. Israel's army radio says more than 200 rockets and shells were fired from Lebanon towards northern Israel. And the Israeli Security Cabinet has called for an emergency meeting that's meant to take place shortly. Well, in the last half hour, Hezbollah have released a statement saying they've targeted a number of enemy sites and barracks and Iron Dome platforms. They go on to say these military operations will take some time to complete. The resistance, the Islamic resistance in Lebanon, is now and at this moment in its highest state of readiness and will stand strong and watchful against any Zionist transgression or aggression, especially if civilians are harmed. The punishment will be severe and very harsh. Well, also speaking in the last half hour, Israeli military spokesman Daniel Hagari has said we detected preparations by Hezbollah to launch missiles and rockets at the state of Israel. Air Force planes are now attacking targets in Lebanon, from which we recognize that Hezbollah is preparing to launch threats. He went on to say in the near future, Hezbollah will launch rockets and possibly missiles and unmanned aerial vehicles. Accordingly, life-saving instructions of the Home Front Command will be distributed in the various regions. All right, let's bring in Zeina, who joins me on the phone again from Beirut. Zeina, so it's 0400 GMT. For those viewers just joining us, just remind us again of the events of the morning. Israel saying it's a preemptive strike to prevent Hezbollah attacking Israeli territory. Israel responding to a Hezbollah strike. What more can you tell us about the events that unfolded?
Well, it's been an intensive exchange of fire across this border. Israel launching what the military called preemptive strikes, significant aerial attacks in different areas in southern Lebanon. More than 40 strikes have been reported. So a widespread preemptive attack against Hezbollah. According to the Israeli army, they learned that Hezbollah was planning an attack, that it was getting ready for, quote, a major and immediate attack on Israel, and that fighter jets removed the threat, and that these preemptive strikes specifically targeted the sites that would have been used in the attack from southern Lebanon. So that's what the Israeli army said it did. The wave of attacks have now ended. Now, Hezbollah confirming that its retaliation for the killing of its top military commander, Fuad Shukr, in Beirut's southern suburbs on July 30 has begun. In that statement, the Lebanese armed group said that within the framework of its initial response, an air attack using a large number of drones was carried out. It said that it carried out towards a qualitative Israeli military target and that it will announce the target later. So, Hezbollah saying its retaliation has begun. Will this retaliation continue and trigger more Israeli strikes? It's hard to say at this point in time, but from the messaging that we are getting from both sides, the Israeli army saying that it's acting in self-defense, the Israeli army spokesman repeating this twice, 3 times, that basically not declaring all-out war, is an indication that this wave of attacks could be over, and we have to wait to see how Hezbollah responds further, how it retaliates further to the killing, to see what kind of response it will trigger. So this is what we have been seeing, really, sporadic escalation for the past 10 months. But no doubt we are in a very dangerous phase at the moment.
Yeah, and Israel and Hezbollah have been trading rocket and artillery attacks since the start of the war on Gaza, Zeina. So how serious, then, is this specific escalation right now?
Well, this is serious in the sense that we need to know what Hezbollah targeted. They are saying it is a qualitative Israeli military target. Israel says it carried out preemptive strikes to prevent Hezbollah from carrying out a major operation. So what did Hezbollah hit? Who did it hit? And what damage did it cause? We still do not know that. Now, the Israeli Prime Minister and the Defense Minister are meeting, what we understand from Israeli media. They are, quote, managing the incident in the north. Again, not using the word war. And then you have the Israeli Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant, speaking to his American counterpart, saying that precise attacks were carried out to prevent an imminent threat. So really, both sides understand what a full-on war means. Both sides are able to cause destruction on both sides of the border. They've been at war before in 2006, and it was a very destructive war. But at the time, Hezbollah was as strong as it is today. Today, its arsenal is much bigger, it's much more sophisticated. Its armed drones alone have been causing damage in northern Israel. And Israel's air defenses have not been able to shoot down all those drones. And Hezbollah has been taking advantage of this. But again, for Hezbollah to choose a military target to hit in this retaliation, even though civilians were killed when Fuad Shukr was assassinated in Beirut, is also another indication that the Lebanese armed group is also treading carefully, calculating not to give Israel what many here believe an excuse to launch a wider attack and a full-on war on Lebanon.
And Zeina, you've been reminding us all morning that there's been this growing concern regionally and internationally that Hezbollah and possibly Iran were preparing a retaliatory strike against Israel after the assassination of the Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran and that senior Hezbollah commander Fuad Shukr. How much are these concerns playing out here in this latest part of the story?
Well, people are worried that this latest round of violence will not end, and it will only lead to more attacks and strikes deeper inside Lebanon. You know, these are uncertain times. The Lebanese people are used to instability, and the Lebanese people are reeling from an economic collapse. But most people, when you speak to them, what they tell you is that we are already broken. We are broken as a result of the financial crisis. The state is broken because it has all but collapsed. The state is crumbling. It cannot even provide electricity to its people. Hospitals have been struggling with the lack of doctors and nurses, the brain drain. They have been leaving the country because their salaries, because of the local currency, has devalued. Their salaries have little worth. And people are not even to leave their homes to find apartments in safer areas. So, yes, people are concerned. But there are others who believe that any escalation will be controlled. They believe that, yes, we will see more strikes, more sustained attacks, no doubt, from both sides. Israel has been intensifying and its attacks, and the frequency of its attacks have really also intensified in recent days, targeting Hezbollah fighters, commanders, wherever they find them. It's no longer confined to the border area. At times you drive through villages in southern Lebanon, the first 5 kilometers deep strip of territory is now empty, but further in 8 kilometers deep, 10 kilometers deep into southern Lebanon, some people have started to leave, but there are still people who live there. You drive through those villages, and at any time, the car in front of you could be hit by an Israeli drone strike. So the situation is very uncertain, and people are concerned.
All right, Al Jazeera's Zeina Khodr reporting live for us there from the Lebanese capital, Beirut. Zeina, will no doubt talk to you a little bit later in the morning. But for now, Zeina, thank you. Let's bring in Sami Nader. He's a Middle East Analyst and is the director of the Levant Institute for Strategic Affairs. He joins us live as well from the Lebanese capital, Beirut. Sami, good to have you back with us. How significant, then, is this Hezbollah response? And what does it mean in the sort of broader context of what's happening on the border and beyond?
This means it has all the potential. This is a preemptive Israeli strike, not war. It has the potential to draw the whole region into a full-blown war, because Iran has vowed or has warned from Israel targeting Hezbollah, other military organization active on Iraq and Syria have vowed support to Hezbollah. And now we are in front of a major escalation in terms of scope of operation and in terms of intensity. The idea actually of a preemptive strike is an idea that was floating since the very beginning of the war in Gaza. It was the idea of the Israeli Minister of Defense to operate such a preemptive strike in order to deter Hezbollah that have opened a war of support in southern Lebanon since October 8th. And it took the visit of the American president to Israel in order to deter the Israeli government from going into a full-blown war. Today, this is a major escalation, and it has all the potential to draw Lebanon and the region into a full-blown war.
Sami, Israel says it carried out this preemptive strike, but let me ask you, I mean, that response seems to have been calibrated, Sami. It only happened in southern Lebanon. Israel very careful to select its targets and also talking about managing the conflict rather than sort of using words like war. So very careful as to what that response was.
Both parties are trying to avoid a full-blown war, and every party has its own reason. On one hand, Israel is exhausted by its military operation in Gaza that dragged for the 10th month today, and Hezbollah doesn't want a war similar to what happened in 2006 for one very simple reason. It did not choose neither the turf nor the timing. And one very important element today is that Lebanon is going through a very serious economic crisis, and so far all diplomatic effort to reach a political settlement between Hezbollah and Lebanon, between Hezbollah and Israel, have failed. And the position of both parties are far away. On one hand, Hezbollah wants to keep the rules of engagement as it was prevailing in October 6th, meaning before the war in Gaza, while Israel is determined to change this rule of engagement to set up a new security scheme that will allow the return of all the Israelis who left their home, like 60,000 Israelis left the northern Galilee, and they are not ready to return before the threat that Hezbollah poses is dealt with. And this is what makes the situation very, very tense, because no political settlement has been reached so far, and people are and the military operation is continuing and taking an escalation course.
All right, Sami Nader there, live for us from the Lebanese capital, Beirut. Sami, thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.